Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound. This crowd's going to get rowdy today. Okay, I've already got a preview of where we're headed with this.
I had pineapple for
Okay,
breakfast.
pineapple. Okay, here we go. All right, how to work a car deal in 2022. I have been told a lot of things have changed. There are videos right now on the internet with over 1 million views of me teaching how to work a car deal. And by the way, I don't teach that anymore. But it's okay. The crowd today starts out with a good friend, April Simmons from the Horn Automotive Group. Hello, April.
Good morning, good afternoon for the rest of you. Good.
Okay, so you're in Phoenix today, right?
Yep. Still
Okay,
more.
and from Texas, my good friend from MOTiiV, Kenny Kelly. Hi, Kenny.
How are you guys?
And speaking of rowdy, the
You're
queen
introducing
of
Max,
BD,
right?
the queen of BDC, Bobbie Herron. Hi, kid.
Hello.
You ready to rock today?
You know I am. I'm sassy today. I just woke up not long ago. I
I
got
heard.
booster
I
shotted yesterday. I'm
got your
feeling
booster shot. Got your new candle. We'll, we'll talk about that. And direct from where in the world are you?
I am in South Jersey.
thought he was gonna say
Oh,
Carmen San Diego. I thought it was gonna end that way.
yeah, yeah. Where in the world is Max Zanan? Oh, so you're in the Chevy store in South Jersey. Max Zanan, the king of reinsurance. Okay, Max, you made a statement a minute ago. How do you work a car deal in 2022? This going to be a lengthy show.
So I think it's going to be a very quick and easy answer because I actually, for the first time, I think prepped for the show.
Really?
I picked up the
Oh.
phone, right? Because usually I'm winging it. But I actually picked up the phone and I called multiple dealers, right? And I went across the board, from Nissan all the way up to Mercedes, right? And I said, how do you work a car deal? And I said, what happens when the customer comes in and says, I'd like to get a discount, right? Because that's how customers are trained to come into the showroom, no matter what the price is. And everybody gave me the same answer. They said, after we stop hysterically laughing, right, we tell them that it's 5 to 10 over sticker, right? That's the bottom line. And it goes across all makes, all models, right? Because the inventory shortage is really, really severe, right? And you can say dealers are being bad guys, but if you put yourself in their shoes, if you cannot replace that, GLE Mercedes, what's the point of selling it for sticker, right? So at the end of the day, I think the art of salesmanship is gone,
Mhm.
right? Because it's just a question of having the car in stock, right? And what worries me is the future, because at some point, whatever goes up has to come down. And at some point, this inventory shortage will be fixed. And we have an entire generation of salespeople and sales managers that started their careers during this pandemic,
Yeah.
right? And they have never been through a downturn. And I think all of us are old enough to remember how bad it got in 2008. And I don't know
2009.
if this generation can handle a correction like that, right? From financial perspective, from mental perspective, because they're in for a rude awakening at some point, and the level of laziness when it comes to the sales floor
Oh
and
my gosh, the level of laziness
is
on the 20. If
unprecedented.
you're a salesperson, you're listening to this, Max says
Is
you're
it
lazy.
is it laziness or trained behavior though? Or untrained behavior?
Well,
Because
Untrained behavior.
something coming
Yeah.
easy
I,
doesn't
I
make
think
somebody
it all
lazy.
trickles down, right? So I
I
don't
think
want to
we look
say,
at it like that. We look at
right,
it like that because we've done the hustle and the grind for so long and had to put the work in for so many
correct.
years. But for a lot of these salespeople that are coming into this over the last couple of years, I don't even know that we can call it laziness. They're doing what they're told to do and what they're shown. They're led by example.
Yeah.
That's my
I question
point.
the
It
sales
trickles down.
managers.
That's why
Kenny,
Yeah.
Kenny Kelly, jump in here.
Well, you know, here's the thing that I see, and I had a conversation this morning with a general manager. We're talking about salespeople who may not understand or who maybe have this label of being lazy, but I was in a store just last week where a finance manager was trying to close the car deal that was supposedly closed when it went in the office, that was not closed. 4 times she asked a sales manager to go take a turn on the customer.
And they did
And
it.
all 4 times the sales manager said, "You handle it." So the salespeople are modeling exactly what the desk managers are doing and training them to do. And I think Max is onto something huge, is that when this thing does dip, we know it's going to dip. The guys that are in the seat right now that look like superstars are going to go from the old adage we always say is every month we go from 0 to hero, right? They're going to go there with no ability to rebound unless they latch on to folks who have old school knowledge. Impossible. So the general manager and I this morning were talking about it, and we're actually working on a new process for him and his stores to guinea pig a prospecting tool for his sales staff right now in the peak, so that when it does dip, his sales team is ahead of the game.
And that's the right way to be doing it right now, right? Like we have a tendency to be very alarmist when we're talking about things. And I think sometimes for our audience, they think, are they talking about me? Oh, they just think we're all jacking stuff up. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of times in a sales manager position, and I'm going to side with them for a minute, so hold on this. A lot of times when we promote somebody to a position like that, or we move them in, it is not based on the ability to lead a team of people or their success. It's also not based on the ability to convert traffic or a lead into a true opportunity, or to put a dream in a driveway. So we put people into positions and then we don't teach them how to do that. And so I can tell you, well before COVID, when I'm training sales teams and managers, that I would say, hey, I want to see who can do the best job of converting a phone call, or who can prospect the service drive. And more often than not, I found that a sales manager or a GM found it to be a weakness or a vulnerability to raise their hand and say, you know what, I don't actually know how to do that. Can you show me? And instead we'd get run around or smoke show, and they wouldn't show them. And I bet money that right now, because it is coming so easy, the traffic, they don't know how to find that medium compromise without potentially losing the gross or freaking out, and then to in turn teach their salespeople. So like, as we're talking about this, I think it's important to know, you know, if you're a sales manager listening, you're right, raise your hand and say that you need some old school tactics, or you just need some assistance.
Old
Because
school tactics.
it's hard.
April Simmons, jump in here.
So first of all, I'm going to 100% agree with Max. We've actually had a lot of conversations about this. Those of us that have been around and went through 2008.
Somebody get Max a trophy. It's his first agreement.
We can see the train wreck coming, right? We all see it.
Yeah.
But can we really effectively do anything to stop it? The problem is if you haven't actually gone through the hardship, you don't see it. And
Right.
we're telling these people, and we're trying to give them the save your money and do all these things, and we're trying, but ultimately until they hit that brick wall themselves, they're not going to really learn it. And so I think we just have to prepare ourselves for the fact that there's going to be a lot of movement on the other side of this. We're going to have a lot of transfer of people either leaving the automotive completely.
Oh, they're going to get out. They're going to get out. They're going to bail. They're going to bail.
I think we're going to see, like we did in 2009, we're going to see a ton of bankruptcies. We're going to see a ton of mental health issues. We're going to see a ton of families losing money.
Totally agree.
Because
now,
sales is like any other drug.
Of what I consider to be kind of multiple things right now.
1976, I walk in a car dealership and they say to me, meet and greet the customer, establish a relationship, select a vehicle, present the vehicle, demonstrate the vehicle, TO to finance with a quality TO, write up and negotiate the deal, deliver the car the way the factory wants the car delivered, inspect the trade-in with the customer.
That's
Chinese. You still do that. You just most of it is done virtual. Most of that is done virtually now. Most of that is done virtually now.
Oh, okay. No, but
the
now,
majority of it flows into. I'm not saying it doesn't replace, but a lot of it starts in a different way now.
Let's go to 2012. Set an appointment. How many appointments have you got today? That's the big deal in 2012. Have you set an appointment? The manager verifies the appointment. The BDC now sets the appointment. Okay, how many appointments do you have? How many showed? How many do we deliver? Is that the way we're doing it today? Oh, no, Mr. Ziegler. We've got digital retail. Okay, Mr. Ziegler, today we don't do that anymore. You know what happens? Prodigy's going to do it. Oh, Prodigy changed their name. They're Upstart now. Excuse me. We got Roadster. We got frickin' Tech. Frickin' Tech. I got frickin' Tech right here. Got your frickin' Tech right here. What the heck?
Somebody sassy today.
Well, I have to make one point about defending dealers for a second, because I think one thing we have to keep in mind right now is, what are we doing with our salespeople during downtime? So I'll give you a perfect example. We still struggle with getting enough staff right now and not having staff jump ship to the store that actually has inventory, because they get paid when they do what? Sell a car. But they also, imagine if a team goes and plays a sport, but they never practice, right? And right now, what we have going on at a lot of these dealerships, because of lack of inventory, and the reason that they're treating customers the way they are is because we're just setting them out there for the game, and there's no other opportunities for them to work and kind of practice with or have swings at the bat. None of that is happening. And so what happens is they sit around and they crap each other out. So there's a whole lot of time that's happening where salespeople are just going, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And quite frankly, a lot of them are doing all the right things and trying. But when they get slapped in the face one time too many, like, I don't know, they've put in 50 orders and 45 of them canceled and bought something.
Oh, built to order cars. Right. We're going to build them to order.
Okay.
Got your built to order right here too.
So let's think about this. We had a gentleman on one of the shows recently who was talking about giving a commission to the customer or to the sales rep when they place the order. Okay, I think that's a great idea, and we do that in most of my stores. The problem is, to a salesperson.
Oh, wait a second. Slowing down a second, April. You're paying salespeople when they order the car.
Right.
An incentivized commission plan.
It's not a commission. Right? We're paying them basically you're paying them like a spiff, right? Mm-hmm. You're giving them a spiff to try to keep them engaged, to want to continue to do it, because otherwise, quite frankly, they throw, I don't know. I say baby out with the bathwater. That's an old statement.
I think you said that last week too. We got to be careful with that in these times.
Right.
But ultimately,
you threw the baby out with the bathwater. I love that.
That's like I don't know. That's like a Nebraska saying that just like
no. That is hundreds of years old. It goes back. It goes back to when the whole family took bath in the same bathwater. They're going to town on Sunday, so Dad gets to use the clean bathwater first. Then Mom uses the bathwater. Then the children, and then the last one to get the bathwater was the baby. By that time, the bathwater was pretty murky, and they had to be sure that they didn't throw the baby out with a murky, filthy bathwater.
I actually always wondered where that came from. So we all learned something today.
We all learned something. The Alpha Dog taught you that don't throw the baby out with the dirty bathwater, because the baby gets to use it last.
But April's right, because you think about this for a minute. Sales is like any other adrenaline high, any other addiction, any other drug, whether it's social media, alcoholism, whatever it is. Everything's fine in moderation, but that high that we ride, that gets stronger when we're doing well and gets worse when we're not, causes mental health breakdowns in the end. And the truth is, most salespeople are motivated either by time or money. And so if we're motivating them through a pay plan that involves commission, and they sell 50 units on order and only 45 come in, then what we have that happens is we have a defeated team. And I believe in high performance culture. So I always teach as, and I recommend everybody does, when you're building a team, you build them like a freaking sports team. When you're not playing, you're practicing, you're smacking each other's ass, you're maybe don't do that. That's an HR issue. You're high-fiving. But when is a better time? Right now, they're floating in the money and they have the time, right? Go talk to HR.
As a manager, I used to.
They're not, because here's the problem. If you have an opportunity, and this is again goes why they're charging what they're charging. If I only have a chance to sell 5 cars, and that's where I max out because of what's actually coming in, I have to make a living on that. the desperation, we basically have a bunch of sales reps now that are acting like it's the last day of the month and they need one car to hit bonus. And it seems crazy at the level of commission they're getting. But if they get $100 spiff, I don't care how many orders they get, they're not making a living on that.
No.
So,
Right.
so now you've got, so we talk about why are we not holding accountability? Well, in some stores, they're fearful that that sales rep's going to leave and go to a store where they've got some cars on the ground. They're driving
Well, they
around.
were fearful before, and now it's even worse. Before it was like, oh, use the CRM. Oh God, he sells 8 cars a month. He's average. We couldn't do that.
Right. So we got to talk about the core problems, and the core problems are fundamental. We can't fix what's gonna happen. Max is right on what's gonna happen. We can do our best. We can train. We can try to create a great culture so that people don't want to leave. But ultimately, the train wreck that's coming is going to come. Like, we just have to figure out and have a game plan for how we're going to react to it once it happens. Right.
So-
I would challenge
April,
these stores to use positive behavior reinforcements as motivation for commission setups right now, using the CRM, learning how to do phone calls. Instead of saying, and when you sell 10 cars, when you know that somebody may only be able to sell 6 because it's what you have in inventory, let's tie it to a true behavioral improvement that relates to a high performance culture. That is not difficult. It's easy to do, and it creates energy in the showroom. Simple things like playing a poker game when you're improving behavioral performance from the desk, making a lot of noise, handing out the card, playing it every morning, and not the sales meeting, in the self-improvement meeting, and what you're doing every morning, so that you're causing that energy to be contagious to help try to offset some of the bad behavior that is being learned currently.
So I got to jump in here, right? So
Yeah, Max, get in
say
there,
that,
please.
That human nature is path of least resistance, and if these sales managers or managers or salespeople haven't been doing it, they're not going to start now, guys. It's just a sad reality. But I don't want to be all doom and gloom. You know who's going to save every car dealership?
Me? Thanks. I'm getting my cake.
Who's going to save them? It's the finance managers, right? Because finance department is the only department that did not get a pay raise during this pandemic, right? All the money is in the front. The back end stayed the same. Now, all the finance managers used to be salespeople. They used to be sales managers. They actually have years of experience under their belt, right? They're amazing closers. They're amazing at building rapport. And when, it hits the fan, these are the guys that will be in the store that actually had to continuously get better, right? Because imagine closing somebody on VSC, on Gap, on Tire and Wheel after that person paid 10 G's over list. It's really hard, guys. It's not like they come in and just lay down and say, yeah, of course, where do I sign? Oh, you got the FedEx, great. Let's open it and see my, $1,700 payment. It doesn't work like that anymore.
Wait a second.
Well, finance managers are killer anyway. They sell an intangible product.
Everybody, wait a second. The manufacturer knows how to sell cars, and the manufacturer told me, I've heard this, that these people are going to buy the car totally online. They're going to go online, and they got digital retail already installed on the website. My God, we got Roadster on the website. Kia already told us they're going to buy the Kia with a Roadster digital retail. They're going to fill out the forms. They're going to watch a video, and they go, oh my God, I can buy a service contract because I saw a video on service contract. There is so much absolute misinformed bullshit.
Right. OEMs know as much about selling cars as car dealers know about making cars.
About marketing? What?
The manufacturers believe that they're going to buy the car totally. We watch Tesla sell cars online. Hey, wait a second, Carvana. There are people watching this video that bought Carvana stock at $3.30 a share, looking at $30 a share right now.
Right. Well, if you're looking at how to sell a car in 2022, don't hold titles. That's what I'd say. That was a pretty important lesson right there, right?
Kenny, what are you seeing in these dealerships?
Kenny, you have to interrupt if you want to get in here. That's how we roll.
No, I got to just jump in. But, the thing to me, it's really funny. We title this, hey, how are you going to do it in 2022? But the truth is, you have to do it in 2022 like we did in 07, like we did in 11, like we did in 12. you know, and all this.
Probably like 12.
Any year. I mean, here's the thing. We might be able to collect a little bit of the data that we used to have to do face to face before they come in. But if we don't understand the truths of the car business, doesn't matter where we are, we cannot get where we're trying to go. So when I'm in stores today training, right, I still train the exact same things to a salesperson and a finance manager that I did back from 2001, 2002, 2003. And, you know, salespeople, I think as a dealership, I love the concept of having a poker type atmosphere of
It's
learning.
fun.
Yeah. You know, I come from an environment when I was in retail where we had 9 sales meetings a day, every hour and a half, every 2 hours. And it was a grind about how many phone calls, hour 1 and hour 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4. But we tweaked it, and we used to do a competition in that meeting. So I would take 2 or 3 of those every day and volunteer somebody on my sales team to do one element differently, come up with a way to use one tool that we use to close car deals that everyone else can take for an advantage. So one of the ones that we trained a lot, that a lot of people don't use, I believe that in negotiations, if we trained more salespeople to do it in writing with credibility, that our gross goes up. So one of the tools we always use is a triangle, right? And the reason I use a triangle is it has 3 equal sides. Everybody's heard man, money, machine. Well, I could talk about man, money, machine all I want. So what we used to do is challenge our salespeople to come up with a new way to use a triangle to help you close a car deal. So for instance, there's only 3 ways I can make money in a car deal. We'd have them draw a triangle, right? The first one is the car. The second one is the trade-in. The third one is lending, right? And we would use the man, money, machine like we've always heard it, but make it equal. Say, look, I got a flat dollar amount I have to make in the transaction. To me, it doesn't matter where it comes from, whether it comes from the car, the trade-in, or the financing. As long as I get to X as a dollar, I'm good. I have to keep the lights on. Mr. Customer, do you have a preference on which one I make it in?
Oh, Kenny.
Wait
a second. Let me ask you if this sounds familiar. Let's pretend we've got 100 cars on the lot. We have 200 cars on the lot, and the salesperson goes to the consumer and says, "Mr. Customer." Now, don't anybody interrupt me for a second.
Okay. Gotta talk fast.
Mr. Customer, the market value of the vehicle you're purchasing today is $25,000. Our professional buyer has looked at the car that you are trading in today, and based on current market conditions, we're willing to buy your car as part of this deal for $9,700, paying off Federal Credit Union $8,300. And Mr. Customer, as you know, the banks in this market would like to see as much as 20% cash down for preferred and preferential financial terms. So we need a down payment from you today of $4,763. That'll make your estimated monthly investment somewhere between 80 months, and I can't believe we're going 84 months today, 84 months at $625 to $635, depending on your personal credit. Write me that check for $4,500. I'll get everything started.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to all that?
It got thrown out of the bathwater.
Nobody training it.
No,
the market value of the vehicle you're purchasing today.
It still happens. It's just where the communication is happening. And that's 2007, we did it. 2012, we did it. If a customer calls me and they're going to put their hands across and that's how they're going to buy a car, well, then that's how I'm going to sell a car. If they're going to if they want to come onto my website and that's how they want to buy a car, then that's how I'm going to sell a car. If they walk into the showroom, but the points are the same. Whether we talk a 4-square or we talk the triangle, the points are the same. It still is a person figuring out the objection, overcoming the objection, and making a deal that works for both sides. That's it. Stop overcomplicating it. That's all it is.
I would challenge anybody listening, if you want to like really see what the problem here is when we used to train and teach in a store, even as a sales manager, we taught power and control, and we taught you to shut up. I would guarantee you, if you go ask a lot of the new generation why it is that you slide a piece of paper over and then you shut your mouth, that they cannot tell you that it's because you lose control. They cannot tell you that it's because you will cause an objection. They will just tell you it's what they're supposed to do. We somehow decided to skip that element and went to old school parenting with our teams of like, do it because I said so. And that doesn't work. And Kenny, what you're talking about with the meetings on stuff, that's what I do in training. And I suggest everybody does it all day long. You pick something, you play poker all day long, you play bingo all day long. It doesn't matter what game you're doing. It's designed to create energy and to change behavior, because by nature, we are competitive people. So we can have a healthy competition on a sales floor that doesn't have to require bringing in $10,000 a day trainers if you don't want to. It requires the people who are leading by example to find one skill set that they want to improve in the store and start with that, including looking on your team to see who is the best in that vicinity and let them teach it.
That's right.
Get out of their way. This is not hard stuff, guys. And as far as the customer goes, with like you're talking about the triangle, we do that with recruiting, right? We have 3 legs. It's the old Bob King route that we follow. And we do the same thing with the team. Now would be an ideal time to put in a really great recruitment plan, because you're going to lose half your team here shortly.
Yeah.
Might want to start thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they tell me you can't do that anymore.
What, recruit?
No, you can't sell cars talking about the numbers. I mean, we're going to let the people buy the car. It's all about the customer experience.
It's all, I know you say that because I say that all the time, but it's true.
Bobby, you're not listening. It's the customer experience.
It is the customer experience. I disagree with everybody.
Let them buy the car the way they want to buy the car.
Let them buy the car the way they want to buy the car, but you control the situation.
I just got back from Digital Dealer, and everybody said, let them buy the car the way they want to buy the car. Okay, I'm willing to do that. How do they want to buy the car? April, tell me.
Okay, so here's you're lighting fires, Jim. You're lighting fires.
I know.
I'm just going to tell you, you're lighting fires, because people want to buy cars today the same way they wanted to buy cars in 1985, the same way they wanted to buy cars in 1995, the same way they want to buy cars now. The only difference is in 1995, we didn't have a cell phone, right? Now we have a cell phone. It's just a different platform of communication. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the salesperson is still so integral part, because customers need somebody to tell them what to do. It is the psychology of the art of the sale, and it is the most important aspect of selling cars. Plain and simple. The customers don't know what they don't know. And when we take a survey where we ask a customer, would you rather not ever go to a dealership and buy a car? They say yes. Yet go ask that customer if they actually have ever done it. And they haven't. And they most likely never will do it in that fashion. Some will, again, percentages, but ultimately most people need help. They need an assistance to figure out the financing, to figure out the trade. How does their payoff get handled if they have a payoff? Well, most of them have a payoff, right? There's just way too much involvement. So it's the exact same. It's just put the customer into the situation, customer service, and talk to them wherever they are. If it's social media, if it's the website, if it's the cell phone, if it's the room, it doesn't matter, but it still is a salesperson.
You know, April, I knew the answers to the questions.
You just like to fire me up on purpose.
But you know what? It's right. It's right. We always talk about the close of the car deal and getting them to the car, but you don't even get a chance to talk to the customer and close the car deal if you don't give them an experience that makes them feel valued. People buy things when they connect to a person, a place, a past.
Of course, we give them an experience.
It's psychology.
Of course we do.
It's psychology.
I want to answer this question, right? And the question is, how does the customer want to buy a car? Right. And I think the answer is they want to buy a car however we as dealers tell them to buy a car. Right. And the proof is in the pudding. Right? You might think you want to buy a car online, but somehow you took the bus, the up bus, you came to the dealership, you laid down, you paid $10,000 over list, you got no walk around, you agreed to any color in stock. Right. That's the reality. Right. Mm-hmm. Nobody is asking any of you, how do you want to go to a dentist? Nobody is asking you, how do you want to buy your next house? Right. So let's not give up the power and let the customers or these tech companies dictate how the sales process is conducted. you as car dealers, or we as automotive,
Well, these tech companies are
We have
sitting
to
there
the process,
fantasizing the way it should be.
right? But it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, right, and be a great coder, right, and say, well, I've never bought a car in my life. I'm 19 years old, but I think that's how people want to do it, right? That's a fantasy world, right? And I can give you millions of examples. Let's say, I don't know if you guys remember BP.
Who?
Remember BP? They raised $150 million. They were going to be like Uber of used car sales, right? They were going to match buyers and sellers and not hold on to the inventory, right? They did not have a single person from automotive experience on the board of directors, right? And guess what? $150 million are gone and BP is bankrupt, right? And the same thing is going to happen to Roadster, to all these other guys, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody has any idea how it works in the real world, right? None of these guys worked a day selling a car, being belly to belly in F&I.
Well, wait a second. Vroom. I saw
Right.
commercials in the Super Bowl that we actually shocked customers with electric shocks. Remember that?
Right.
Where's Vroom?
Right.
Where's
And look
Vroom?
at Vroom now.
Where's Vroom today? Where's Vroom today?
Right. They're $1 away from zero, stock price.
Keep in mind though, those companies might be failing right now, but they certainly took their time dipping into our profits and into our sales, because although they weren't doing it exactly right, we're not either, and we're not listening to the customer. So I disagree. When it comes to the psychology of sales or selling anything, power of persuasion and euphemism is massive. We have to remember that we can be present and let somebody else feel like they won. The win is not in the argument, it is in the outcome.
Bingo.
We can have a conversation, and in the end, you can feel like you won, and you will still be doing what I guided you to do. That's not some narcissistic shit. That's just the truth. And that is what the difference is in a customer experience versus an assumption. We don't have to do digital retailing all the way to the end online and people sign paperwork. And right, they don't do it now, but a lot of them will go on and do the trade portion. Look at what their options are, because when they call us or they email us or they show up, we play games and we make it apparent that we do, because we're not good at the controlling part of it. So they go online and look for answers. And when we don't give them to them, guess what? They send in 1,200 leads a month to a dealership and then they never answer them. The engagement rate for a dealership on their lead and opportunities is less than 20% nationwide. And that's assuming the best are involved. So if we really want to get good, we need to start looking at the people who give us an opportunity that we can't convert into a true buyer. That's where the money is. And that's where a lot of those online car places did really well. They didn't do great at the close. They didn't do great at the paperwork. You have to be where people want you to be, just like marketing. You have to have your message in front of them and engage in front of them the way they want to. That does not mean that you cannot persuade that to turn to what you want it to be. Sliding the paper over and shutting up. It's really that simple.
Look at Matt Hamilton. Matt Hamilton says, and we're talking about Vroom and Carvana.
Mm-hmm.
They may be failing as a company, but they have moved the needle as far as what type of experience the customer wants or expects. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. Carvana cannot turn a profit and is terrible to the consumer after the sale.
Okay, my opinion. So first of all, I want to actually comment on two things that Matt said. Matt had made another comment in regards to, Amazon controlling the customer, but not being mutually exclusive to customer experience. And I don't think they are mutually exclusive. I do think that customer experience tools are great. And DR is one of those customer experience tools. If it works, and are you expecting that it actually works? Are you giving the customer the experience that you're trying to give them? I agree with all of those tools. You just have to make sure the people are the ones running the tech, not the tech running the tech. Second thing on this last statement, only time will tell with Carvana, because the real question about Carvana's actual selling of cars is, did people buy cars from them out of sheer need or out of customer experience? And I'm not sure they bought cars from Carvana out of customer experience across the majority. I think a lot of their sales happened as a result of what was going on in this country, and people needed cars, and that's the safe way they felt to get a car at that particular time. I don't know if it's a sustainable business model for them, even if they make it on the other side of this debacle.
Well,
They just made it easy to get
April,
answers.
Bobby, there is a guy, and I think he's a real goober, by the way. There's a guy that runs a major conference. I mean, he's doing conferences, and he also owns a dealership. And his dealership is absolutely so warm and fuzzy, it's unbelievable. And guess what? I saw their ranking in relationship to the other dealers that are in their group. And it is terrible. They are terrible retailers. So
Do you
what
mean
a-
by volume or gross or by retention of
by
employees?
volume, gross, and retention. By all measurements, all demographics, they're terrible. But they are very customer friendly.
Well, but keeping in mind, and I don't not speaking to this group because I'm not sure exactly who you're speaking of, but one set of data does not create an overall KPI. And having a high performance culture and selling a lot of vehicles and having a high gross does not mean that you don't have to do what's right for the customer. I think sometimes we get into this mindset where we're like, it's the dealer or the customer or the vendor, but like, no, it takes everybody. It takes a village to do this. And truly, if we could find one dealership, I wish that like I had the time and the intensity to open a dealership right now, because truly I would run it as 3 different KPIs and an A/B split test and say, this is what happens when you mine your data. You talked about the triangle earlier and you said, what if it's the trade? Or we talked about the 4-square, what if it's the trade? What if you knew that the source that the customer came in on as the opportunity was a trade-in source? If you know that and you know how to read it, then when the customer is sitting in front of you and you need to negotiate a part of the dollar amount, whether it's the car, the trade, or the payment, obviously not during these times, you would start with the trade. So you don't go cut the price on the car, come back and the customer goes, what about my trade? I already know that you're a trade elected buyer, that's your focus because of the steps that you took. You get even better at it and you go, this customer started on Car Gurus. Then they came to the website. They took these 4 actions. They talked through a chat, didn't get the answer they wanted, bounced in 30 seconds, filled out a trade-in form. I called them. You know why they didn't answer? Because they didn't like the number we sent them. Why would they answer me? So instead of pounding with things like, when can you come in? I'm here now. When can you come in? I'm going to talk about how that number came from AI. And while it's a great tool, it is not the final authority. And I would love to have an opportunity to give you one because you're an educated buyer who's doing their research and you're exactly the kind of person I want to work with. And if I do that, then I can ask for all the gross. And I'll give you one more thing real quick. It's really easy for everybody to say like, oh, we're not showing them all the cars because we don't have something. Do y'all remember when we used to teach that you pulled the car up to the front so the customer owned it, so they didn't walk past 20 other cars looking at a big ass menu, so that they had ownership? Well, now you're doing it. You just don't realize it because you only got 5 cars on the lot. So some of this old school stuff and the stuff that's happening right now, they go together. We just have to show that it does. Yeah. And with finance, it's the same thing. That's an intangible. Finance people sell air. They're brilliant at doing this. Get them into your meetings and let them help you train your teams. If you're
absolutely. Now, Bobby, I came from finance.
So did I.
All the records I set in the business were in finance, not in management, not in sales.
Yeah. I worked for Sonic Finance.
There's a Facebook user that says Carvana is only doing well because of all the bad dealers in the country. And by the way, that is the total standard bullshit I'm hearing from everybody.
We can't
Guess
see your
what?
name.
Carvana is not doing so well. Carvana is a miniature part of the market. Yeah, remember, they're not setting records. They are just a minuscule part of the market.
But what they are doing is listening, and that's what that person is saying. I don't know who it is, but I'm not saying in the car sale. I'm saying in the beginning. Look at why did they get a chance to scoop up from us? Because we wouldn't answer a trade appraisal over the phone because you got to bring it in. Because we wouldn't answer questions because you weren't empowered to answer it, because it went to a freaking call center who wrapped presents instead of people who were hybriding and being empowered. And that is why Carvana got a chance to sneak into our business.
Okay, Carvana got everybody's attention, but remember, they are not moving the market with big numbers. They're not doing that. There is a portion of the market that does business. Now, let me tell you what I think. I think Walzer is a great representative part of the market. I think the salesperson, doing the one touch thing is a great thing. I'm really thinking that might be the way we want to go. But one thing I learned about Walzer is they've got managers in the background. See, I thought they were eliminating managers. They're not. It's just a total shift on how we're doing business. I sort of like the A to Z concept. But I still think we need F&I managers in the process, because F&I managers are the policemen of the dealership.
It's huge. Compliance is huge with F&I.
If
Plus,
compliance,
it's hard to sell it from, this coming from F&I, same thing. It is, as an F&I professional, if I close the deal already all the way in and I'm locked into something, it is so much harder to ask for that extra money. Not that you can't close it, but from even the customer perspective, because they know that you know the story and that you're already all in. I don't even know that I think that that's fair to the F&I manager to have to do that. But it happens every day.
I want to make two comments, right? So I think the finance department is what glues the sales department to the service department, right? And what also pumps money
Good perspective.
into some kind of a participation structure, whether it's, dealer-owned warranty company or reinsurance. So you start by, let's say, instead of slapping a $5,000 market adjustment addendum on your car, you start by preloading some products, right? And then you transition the customer into F&I, where the finance manager can upsell.
now wait a second, Max. What do you mean by preloading some product?
So you need to build value, right? Because I think it's pretty insulting if you look at it from the consumer perspective when you walk into the dealership and it just says, by the way, there's a $10,000 market adjustment. You get nothing for it, right?
But what would they preload? You talk about wheels, tires? What are you talking about?
I think there's several things that you can and you should preload. First, I would start with prepaid maintenance to bring the customers back for their scheduled maintenance to the selling dealer, as opposed to letting them go anywhere. On a used car side, I would preload maybe an engine for life type of product, or maybe a powertrain. So when the customer gets into F&I, you can upsell.
You can't preload a service contract. I mean,
a warranty.
That is packing the payment.
That is not packing the
It's
payment.
not packing the payment.
You're loading a warranty.
Clarify the difference between the two. So, because a lot of listeners are going to think that he means packing. That's not what he's saying. But let's make sure there's no misinterpretation of words.
Yeah, let's be sure that we're not misrepresenting what you're saying here.
How am I in charge of compliance today? This seems backwards.
Right, but at the end of the day, the idea is that when the customer gets into F&I and the preloaded products get upsold or other products get sold, these products have a tie back to the dealership service department. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, because of the inventory shortage, your service business becomes mission critical, right? And if you're not going to bring the people back for the scheduled maintenance or regular repair work, you're going to be in trouble, right? So that's point number one. Point number two, I want to go back to Matt Hamilton's point about the fact that Vroom, elevated the expectation of the customer. I suggest you guys go to vroom.com horror stories. That's a group on Facebook, right? There are 3,500 members, and you can read their horror stories of dealing with Vroom in real time. So I think they have not elevated customers.
They have not elevated the industry.
He's talking about getting the customer to choose to speak to you, which those horror stories come after. So there's no disagreement there. But what he's talking about is the initial engagement between a consumer when they are a lead and when they become an opportunity, both in conversation and in answering, to deliver the opportunity to actually sell them a car, which is a spot that gets forgotten all the time. That's what he's talking about.
Bottom line, they had some good advertising at the right time.
That's
and couldn't fall through on their advertising.
That's exactly right.
In the butt for it now.
That's exactly right.
Let me throw something in on Max's point though, because I think that it's important to understand the difference in payment packing and preloading when it comes to F&I.
Okay, very good. Kenny, jump in here.
So we do this in some of our stores now, and we're seeing a very, very big increase in two things. We're seeing an increase, obviously, in profit and productivity, but we're seeing a bigger increase in customer appreciation from the customer stance when there's something of value attached to this market adjustment.
You and I talked about this yesterday, Kenny. Jump in here.
So, like for instance, we have in some of our stores, we have a package that we're calling a consumer benefits package. So yes, I might have a $5,000 market adjustment, but what makes my $5,000 market adjustment different than the guy down the street who has a $5,000 market adjustment for nothing? Well, in our stores, you're going to get several things that come with it. First off, it's a lifetime powertrain warranty. Secondly, it's going to be windshield protection. So if you get a chip in your windshield or a crack in your windshield, we'll not only repair it, we'll replace it, and we'll recalibrate your sensors. Tires and wheels are covered, and key replacement for 3 years. Then the F&I manager gets an opportunity to give a VIP experience from a 3-year protection to a 6-year, and all they have to do is upgrade them from the 3 they already got at a discounted rate to a 6-year. Your aftermarket penetration goes from, our group, we average about 135% aftermarket, but in stores where we're seeing this, we're seeing an increase where the aftermarket percentage is north of 500% on these deals. So everybody wins.
Kenny, give us more information on that windshield protection product.
Yeah, so we have 2 different windshield products. We have a standard, old traditional, we'll repair it, we'll put some glue and resin in it, and as long as it's less than $1 bill, we can repair it. But then we have a secondary product that we can sell that gives you repair or replacement, and it pays for the recalibration to get these sensors to work, because consumers don't realize that if they go replace their windshield, most of these cars have sensors in their windshields. If you put a aftermarket windshield in there that doesn't recalibrate, those sensors no longer work. So our policy actually comes in behind that and fills that gap, so the customer continues to have the same features in their car, even with a secondary windshield, than they had day one.
So that's, how does that vary from packing the payment?
Well, packing the payment is putting a fictitious number into a payment. So this isn't a fictitious number. It's a dollar amount that is agreed upon when they start their number. It's on the addendum. They see the number. They see the package price. So it's not packing because we've disclosed this is included in the payment. Packing the payment would be adding $40 above and beyond what the
Right.
DMS says.
And that's what Max was saying. Max would never say to pack a payment. When we use certain words, we have to be careful because words have so much power. It's the same thing in the sales process. And a lot of our listeners they'll get feisty with us and be like, oh, you're saying this, but it's the same thing. April mentioned it last week. It's just the word is different. Right. So I'm glad that we did the clarification. Yeah.
I got my attorney there, Bobbie Herron.
He pays me in friendship, and I appreciate that about him.
Right. I mean, look at the less common, guys. Please look at the less common.
Friendship.
Oh, Seth.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh, Max is like a secret genius.
Max is a genius. Seth Levitt, one of our viewers, says Max is a genius. Oh,
I got to tell you, I've seen some of the
so,
reinsurance work that Max is doing with dealers, and it's impressive.
I'm going to be so socially incorrect. You're retarded. I'm telling you.
Gem.
Pineapple.
Food frenzy. Whole thing.
Bobby, didn't you say that's where your candle came from? Max, he is a genius.
Unbelievable. You guys.
What just happened?
And then somebody jumps up, April is correct.
That was me.
Oh, I was going to say.
Max and I are on full agreement today, full agreement. But I will say with the amount of money, I do want to caution everyone with some of the conversations we just had in regards to compliance, because every state is different, and you need to be very aware what words are and aren't able to be used, what you can and can't do, what disclaimer you have to have or not have based on your individual state. Because I feel like right now, because of the amount of money that dealers are making, states are going after people. They are absolutely 100% trying to find you with your you-know-what down and trying to take advantage of getting a payday. So, dealers, even if you're not doing anything wrong, can still be put in a position of being in trouble. So just be very careful. Make sure you know what your individual state's rules are and what you can and can't say and what the verbiage needs to be.
Now, Kenny, I work with Sandy Zanino on that. If anybody doesn't know her or needs a number or doesn't have a compliance person, she's excellent.
Who is that?
Sandy Zanino. I can never spell. I can never pronounce her name right.
Sandy's a friend of mine. I know Sandy quite well. Yes.
Yeah,
she is.
Yeah,
she's phenomenal. Where did you, my AirPods went out. You asked me a question about my candle. What was that? Where did I get it from? Did I get it from Seth or Matt?
No. They said Max was a genius. And I said, yeah, that's because he sent you your candles, right?
He does. Well, Max is a genius. He sends me love and wine and all kinds of things. So he is really smart. He's like meat and cheese tray, charcuterie board and wine. He knows.
Okay, we're back to the subject.
Kenny, this was unrehearsed, by the way.
Kenny, you're talking about putting protection products to justify the.
Speaking of protection,
to offset the market adjustment, so that there's truly a tangible value, and we're not giving away a 90-day policy. You can do it at a 1 year. You can do it at a 3 year.
Now you're with MOTiiV, and MOTiiV will supply these products.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I've got your email address on the screen. That somebody needs to know how to justify the markup. They can call you, K Kelly at MOTiiV.
Yeah.
And that's MOTiiV, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
.net. Where'd you get a .net? Where did you get a .com, for heaven's sake?
do you need me to help you with your .net?
A .net. Oh, that was your decision.
Jim, I wanna go back to how you work deals in 2022. So yesterday, I think a large auto group in New Jersey got busted by Attorney General, right? For all the fees, for all the shady practices, that they're engaging in now, and really in the seller's market, right? So just imagine, what are these guys gonna do when the market turns around? And bringing back to what Kenny was saying, you got to put some product on the market adjustment addendum. Otherwise, you're just inviting scrutiny, and inviting all these law enforcement aspiring, politicians to get into your business. So bottom line is that you really have to be smart and utilize, again, F&I to really make your money, through reinsurance or dealer-owned warranty company, improving your marketing position so you stand out from competition by having these preloads on your car, and finally bringing people back into your service department so they can do their scheduled maintenance and repair work in your service department to keep your technicians busy, right? And all of that can be done. You just have to be motivated and call me.
Motivated.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, so selling cars in 2022. I mean, basically, Bobby, you're saying that the salespeople are unprepared for the crash that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at 2000. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I just switched headphones. I look back at 2008 and 2009, where I was in the Michigan market, and everything touches the OEM, right? Not only did we crash, we then did cash for clunkers right afterwards. And I can't even tell you the amount of people that we lost during that time, because it was hard work. And it seems to me like we are still focusing on in dealerships how you got to work 800 hours a week. You got to work 800 hours a week. And look, I don't slight the hustle. I'm a hustle person myself. But if you're motivated by time, that's different. But we focus on that. But instead of putting good quality things into that time when they're not working with the customer, we're not doing it. We're going to be in for a rude awakening. We're going to see a crash that's going to happen for mental.
Well, Bobby, I'm hearing that economists are saying that there's a very strong possibility that this economy is going to go into recession.
Well, I mean,
if we come out of the chip crisis and all of a sudden we have inventory, and on top of inventory, Max, we have a recession. What's going to happen?
Inventory becomes irrelevant.
Well, but here's the problem I have with it. Let me just throw one thing out there, and then I'll stop. Here's the problem I have with it. If you want to truly have a high performance culture team in any sales thing, you have to actually care about them. Mm-hmm. And letting these people make 150 grand this year when they're 22, 24, 28 years old, letting them out budget themselves, letting them learn no skills, they're going to end up with a mental health crisis. And that's not some soft shit.
April's agreeing with you. April's agreeing with you.
We owe them more than that. If you are going to bring these generations on, and that includes our generation too, but if you're going to bring them in, you owe them the responsibility of making sure that you're setting them up for success, not failure. This old school buy a boat, buy a house, get in debt, and you'll sell more shit. It does not work anymore. We are in the middle of a mental health crisis in our country, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of an almost recession, and we owe it to the people who work with us to be better than that. And if you're not better than that, then you should send your people to me, because I'll put them in a dealership that is, because those are the only ones I work with.
April jumping.
I think to summarize, to sell in 2022, it's really very, very simple, and we overcomplicate.
What's all that noise? I don't know what's going on there.
I don't either.
Okay, continue
right.
on.
In 2022, as far as selling cars go, I think whether you're talking about your staff or you're talking about your customers, there's really one thing we need to do: treat people the way you wish you were treated, right? Like, treat your customers.
Right. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, just
don't be a dick.
Good customer service. I can charge somebody $5,000 over, 10 grand over, 20 grand over, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to go, well, if you don't like it, there's the door, right? Explain to people, take the time, educate customers as to why things are the way they are, and people are more apt to respond. And then be a customer, right? Use all your tools. Make sure your customer experience you think you're giving is the one you're actually giving.
Mystery shop yourself.
And that solves a lot of the customer side. And then as far as the employee and the retention side, we can only do what we can do, Bobbie. And we do. We try all those things. Again, goes back to what I said, though. I think some of these guys are going to have to learn the hard way. But ultimately, at the end of the day, treat your staff the way you wish you were treated. Maybe not the way you were treated, but the way you wish you were treated. And that is just building a culture of customer service to your employees, who then take care of your customers, who then take care of your business, right? These things exist for a reason, because they work and they've stood the test of time. So ultimately, at the end of the day, just make a good culture circle and all life will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a dick.
In much shorter words, don't be a dick.
You know what else withstood the test of time? Putting yourself in debt, right? It withstood the test of time, right? And working 80 hours a week withstood the test of time. And the most successful people in automotive retail put themselves in debt and work 80 hours a week.
I get it. I do too.
So exactly.
That doesn't mean it works.
By being soft, right, and saying, "Oh my God, the mental health crisis is coming." You know what? You get what you deserve.
You guys, it's freaking science. It's data.
Oh,
it's
Bobbie.
Agree with you on this.
Bobbie.
This is basic. It is not soft.
The people that work 60 hours a week, and the people look at us. We became the successful people. You're creating such a culture
April,
of
let me ask
sissies.
you a question, since you're the only one in a dealership. How easy is
Such
it?
a culture of sissies. I mean, come on now.
How is it, April? Are you guys having a really easy time right now hiring people?
We have a massive issue with hiring people, and we have a bigger problem in Arizona than I think in most. And the problem is going to get worse, not better. So I'll share two things. One, there are so many people moving here that it is insane. It is absolutely unprecedented, insane. Kenny, there in Austin, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about here. So trying to hire new talent is really, really tough, especially when you're competing now because of the desperation. I mean, I drove past a Panda Express yesterday. A Panda Express is starting wages at $17 an hour.
Yep.
Right? So these are the things we've got to think about as far as planning ahead. But I'm going to share one piece of my 2008 strategy of overcoming situations.
What's she doing here?
She's got a prop.
Yeah, I love that book. Great.
I love that book too.
Yeah.
What is it?
Right?
Who my cheese?
What
Yeah.
you need to do right now is work on creating good habits. Get your staff to do the stuff they've never done, right? It's a catalyst, right? We're talking about fixed ops. Are we over in the service drive? Are we talking to people over there? Are we doing the equity mining things? Right now is the chance you've got to get your sales reps to do things they don't normally do. But you've got to take the time to get them to drink the Kool-Aid as to why they should. And then hopefully we cross our fingers, our pinky toes, and everything else, and hope that on the other side of this, some of that stuff sticks.
Okay, kids. We have burned an hour, And I mean, I'm looking at all, I don't know if we achieved anything. Bobby, I don't know if we. It was one of those. It was one of those sessions where Kenny was as good for you as it was for me.
Man, I was just getting ready to say we burned an hour and I got 4 words in. Thanks, Bobby. You did a great job.
Listen, I mean, I tell you guys in the beginning, like if you're passionate about it, jump on in. Right?
The water's warm. You'll love it.
Well, it's fine. Listen, I'm like hugs and hand grenades. I might spank you, but I'll give you a hug when we're done.
I think Bobby let you get more than 4 words in. I mean, she really talked Max down.
Jen's not here. So I had to.
Okay, well, guys, another Dawg Pound on the books. Everybody wave goodbye to the audience.
Bye, guys.